Good morning, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Petrelli, Miss P, and I'm happy to see you today. So welcome to our first grade class. This is going to be our first art lesson for week 1, and I'm going to show you the difference between a visual texture, you do, visual texture, and an actual texture. I want to introduce or to show you that concept to remind you from last year when you were in kindergarten. We reviewed that. We learned that, then we reviewed it later on. And now this year we're going to build upon that, and we're going to make our first art lesson about actual textures, okay? So we're going to start for this week very simply with a line drawing and tracing, okay? And then we'll probably do the coloring and gluing on of actual textures week 2, okay, of learning at home. I'm going to start. So for this lesson, you will need a piece of paper, a plain white piece of paper if you have it. If you don't have a white piece of paper, you have a blue piece of paper, or you have construction paper, you can use another color. But I just have white. This one I happen to have blue. But I'm gonna start on white because that way you can see my lines better on the white paper. And let's see, you're also going to need a pencil, any pencil with an eraser. And if you don't have with an eraser, then just a separate eraser, but you're going to need a pencil, okay? And then finally, for when we are ready to trace, you will need either a brown crayon or a brown marker, whichever one you have available at home. So I happen to have both of them. If you only have a crayon, use a crayon. If you only have a marker, or you would rather use a marker and you have both, use a marker. Doesn't matter, but usually trees are brown or a little bit gray looking. So if you have a brown or a gray, let's say you don't have brown and you have gray, or you don't have brown but you have black. Use whatever you have. It's okay, it's your artwork, and there's no right or wrong way to do it, okay? I'm just showing you my example, okay? So, let's get started. I'm so excited to have you back. I missed you. We're going to start by making a tree. And our tree is going to be a Y, a capital letter Y. So, like if I'm the Y, right? I'm the vertical line is my torso, and the V part of the Y are my arms. So they extend way out high. Let's start with putting a vertical line. Remember, vertical means tall. So we are going to make a straight line about like that on our page, okay? I'm gonna press hard so that you can see my lines. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. We're not using a ruler. Why? Because nothing is perfect in nature, right? So even though we see that the tree is straight, standing straight up, it's not perfectly straight. So we just need a line about that big. I'm gonna leave a little space at the bottom for our ground, for the grass. And then I'm gonna leave all this space up here for all of the branches, okay? Now, we're going to continue our top part of our capital letter Y. And we're going to extend this line diagonally. Diagonally means like on a slant, like it's falling down, or like a slide. And I would like you to draw another diagonal line like that. Okay? So now we have a big giant capital letter Y on our paper. And we are going to double up the line. What I mean by that is that we are going to make it go from a single line to a double line, meaning 2. So we are doubling up our lines, okay? Because we need to have it appear to look like the tree has mass, or that it goes around, that it's a solid tree, right? We need to come up here to our V part of the Y and make the other side of our tree trunk. So do that. Okay, now we're gonna go here next to this line and we're going to make this connect. You're going to make the branches connect at the tippy top at a point. So if you think about it, let's say I'm the tree, right? I'm the tree. These are my big, big branches, right? It starts off wide at the tree trunk, then it gets a little bit thinner as the branches go up, and then the smallest, thinnest branches would be like our fingers, okay? So we're going to continue to add branches onto our tree, like that. So let's make another line next to this top of the Y. We're doubling up and we're connecting it to a point. Okay, that's looking pretty good so far. Now, another line, like a tall, skinny capital letter A. Like a tall, skinny capital letter A. And another one. And this is where it gets fun. Now I can just add many more tall, skinny capital A's. And I always start at these branches at the top of my Y, and I add them and I make them thinner and thinner so that it starts to look like a realistic tree, like the trees that are outside surrounding your house or your apartment building, right? So now from these skinny capital A's, I'm gonna make even smaller ones, maybe just a few of them, just to make it look more real. And my lines don't have to stay straight. I can curve them. Now I'm curving. As artists, we use straight lines, curved lines, and zigzag lines. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I think I filled up most of my paper, and now it's looking like a real tree. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my brown crayon or marker, or if you don't have brown, remember you can use gray or black or whatever you have. And I'm going to trace. Now, remember, boys and girls, when we trace, we're not making new lines. We're trying to hide our pencil lines. We're trying to hide and go on top of the lines that we've already drawn. So I'm gonna start up here and very slowly I'm going to trace. Now you see, that's hiding my pencil lines. And we want that because we want it to look realistic and we don't want people to see our pencil. We want them to see it in a very colorful way. And so that's why I like you to trace. And also tracing helps best practice. Best practice skills means that you are showing your best effort, right? We always want to do our best because that shows that we care about our work, that we are proud of everything we do. So I'm still tracing. Notice I'm taking my time. I'm not going very fast. If I go fast, I'm not going to be able to hide the lines. Let's see here. Okay. So, oops, I made a mistake. but nobody has to know. I could either erase it like this. Yeah, that's a good idea. Or I could just draw on top of my mistake and make that branch wider, but I had my eraser ready. Another thing, boys and girls, when you draw, you should always only draw lightly. Only light enough for you to see it, okay? Or dark enough for you to see it. You shouldn't press really hard like this. No, because then you can't erase. You can't erase your mistakes. It's very, very hard to get it off the paper. So that's why I always tell you, since last year, to please don't press hard. Only you have to see the lines so that you can trace over them. All right, and I'm almost finished tracing all of my branches, and I think my tree looks really, really good so far. How about you? I can't wait to see yours. Okay, now I'm gonna go over visual texture. You do. Visual means to see. Texture is how something feels. So let's do it together. Visual texture. Good. Visual texture is how something looks. So I have here a little branch with leaves from one of my bushes outside of my backyard. And if I touch this branch, it feels rough. And I can see lots of little lines on these little branches that make it feel rough. So what I do as an artist is I can't always glue. I don't always have glue or tape. I can't always glue the actual texture onto my paper. So what my job is as an artist is to draw the visual texture. So I'm going to make some tall letter V's, skinny letter V's. You can do it in your pencil first, so that if you make a mistake, you can erase it, or like a capital letter N. That's way better. Okay, let's make capital letter N's, but really, really tall and skinny. So instead of a capital N looking like this, we're gonna make, here, I don't think you can see that. Instead of making our capital N look like this, we're gonna make our capital N's look like this. Tall and skinny. Like that, okay? So let's try it. I'm gonna make many, many tall capital letter N's, one on top of the other. And the reason for that, I'll show you, I'll bring my paper close up. The reason I'm doing that is to try to trick the viewer or trick the person that is looking at my drawing into thinking that that is a real tree with real rough bark on it, okay? So I'm gonna continue to make my capital letter N's. Here we go, some more lines in my branches. Tall capital letter N's. And if these branches are too skinny and I can't fit a capital letter N, then I'm just gonna put one line. But here I can fit a tall capital letter N, another tall capital N. You can make zigzag lines. That's what a capital letter N is a zigzag line. So we're using curved lines and straight lines and zigzag lines. And if you did your lines in pencil first, now that you've filled your tree up with those visual texture lines, you can go back with your crayon or your marker and you can trace all of those lines. So it will look like this. Let me bring this closer. Now here you can see all of my tall capital letter N's. And it makes it look like if you touched it, it would feel rough, like an actual tree. Now, let's go over this one more time. This is you do visual texture. We're trying to make it look like how it really feels. And this is an actual, like you could actually feel the real branch, okay? It's rough. I can feel it, touch it with my hand. So this is an actual texture. You do actual texture, okay? That's my little sign language. So now that you have your tree drawn and traced and you're showing the texture on it, you can go back in and you can color it. I don't see many white trees, so I'm going to take my crayon and I'm going to go back over it, and very carefully I am going to color. I'm going to fill in all of my white spaces. Now notice, I'm coloring in one direction. I'm coloring vertically, up and down in one direction. You can color horizontally, you can color on a diagonal. It doesn't matter what direction you color in, but I need you to color in one direction only. And why is that? For this reason. Let's say I have my tree here, and I have some visual texture lines, and this is sloppy, but I'm just showing you something that might look like a tree trunk, okay? If I color in one direction, and I color slowly, it's going to look like a real tree. And it's going to be colorful, which means full of color, right? If I color in every different direction and I don't take my time and it's sloppy, now I have many, many, many white spaces, many white spots within my tree trunk. Does that look real? No, it doesn't. We can't see through a tree, right? No, it's solid. So we need to take our time and fill up our whole tree trunk and all of the branches with color. Color in your whole tree. Now, remember that I said in the beginning of our lesson that you were just going to use pencil and a marker or a crayon and you were going to draw and trace? Okay. That is all you have to do for this week, okay? But if you have extra time or you're in the mood to continue your drawing, then you may color in your tree. You do not have to. We are going to continue this next week. So when you are done for today, I want you to be very careful with this paper, and I want you to put it somewhere safe so that for next week you can go get the same drawing back out, and we're gonna continue to work on it and finish it up, okay? You don't wanna spill something on it or get it all wrinkly, because that won't show your best work. So let's see here. I'm coloring all of my branches, even the teeny tiny ones, so that they look real, so that they look solid. They can't be invisible. We can't see through the branches. So we need to fill up all of those white spaces. Okay, so that is our tree drawing for this week. And I have had such a great time with you, boys and girls. I miss you so much, and I really look forward to continuing this next week with you, okay? So I wish you all a great week, and I will see you again next time. Bye. Bye, boys and girls.